Alrighty YouTube, what is up guys? This is going to be a VGC focused video, so if you're not interested and you're more interested in the Nuzlocke stuff, stay tuned for the rest of the content coming to the channel, mostly Nuzlocke, but I'm branching out because I learned some new information about Terastalizing and I want to share it with you guys. So a couple people have gotten their hands in the game for like an hour and they revealed that when you Terastalize, you keep the stab of your old type still. So, for example, with Gyarados, if you turn Gyarados into a grass type, his new typing would just be grass, but he still keeps the water and flying stab. And the new Terra typing now has a stab basically of adaptability, so instead of 1.5, it's times 2. So you basically have adaptability on your new stab, but you still keep your old stab. And I thought this was super cool, and it kind of opens the door for more defensive Terastalizing, and I just wanted to share roughly 10 Pokemon that I think I would have fun trying out Terastalizing in these types as when we get to an early meta, depending on the Pokedex and everything. Just a couple entries here. So Gyarados is the first one to start with. Gyarados is really good. Water flying is good. You're weak to electric. You're quite weak to electric, and you're weak to rock, which isn't really a big deal. So the real thing is electric. Obviously, intimidate, good stats. And Dragon Dance, if you can turn yourself into a grass type or a ground type really easily because you have Power Whip and Earthquake, so you can easily turn yourself into grass or ground to resist or be immune to electric. And grass will help you snipe out other water types. Earthquake or ground type would help you just, I don't know, be the ground type of the team. I would lean towards grass. Just turning into a grass type would be crazy. You're Dragon Dancing grass type. You still have your water stab too, so you're smacking all the fire types that come your way. And other grass types or other ground types and stuff, and then you have power up to smack away the other water types that kind of wall you out, face you down. You've got Earthquake to snipe any electric types, and you just resist the electric type attacks. Super good, super interesting. You can run Moxie, I guess, too, but Intimidate. I think it'd be really fun on Gyarados. Grass or ground, both can work. Grass type Torkoal, I thought, would be something kind of interesting if you ran. So Torkoal is always like eruption, and then like maybe other fire coverage, maybe solar beam, maybe like earth power. I have terrain pulse here to show off Terra Blast, which is 80 base power, by the way. I think a grass type Torkoal could be really cool and make it harder to deal with. So you come out, you still have your fire stab, so you still got your eruptions hitting really hard. You could Terastalize into fire and then have harder hitting eruptions. But that's too basic, I think this is a cooler idea of turning into grass. So you set the sun, and let's say there's a ground type. There's like a Landorus there that wants to try to take you out. You Terastalize into a grass type, and you sponge that ground type hit, and you still let off a really hard hitting eruption. Now you have stab, solar beam, and if there's like a rain team that you're fighting against, you have your Torkoal out and they bring in rain. You could instead of having to switch out, you could Terastalize into a grass type and maybe use Terra Blast, which is just grass type attack, and start turning the tides real quick, and then just like, oh, what the hell? Completely unready for this grass type Torkoal will be waiting for him. Maybe something like a Assault Vest with this set, like Eruption, Solar Beam, or I'd say Terra Blast, which would be like your grass type move, and then this could be like Earth Power or something, and you have like a Assault Vest set for this. And just make him more of a more flexible Sunsetter. I have these two together, but the Dragon types with Levitate. Because you keep your old stab, you're still firing off stab Draco Meteors, but they have other types they can turn into that benefit from Levitate. For Hydreigon, I said Flash Cannon, or I said Steel because he has Flash Cannon. It could be a Levitating Steel type who's still throwing off Draco Meteors and Nasty Plot, and maybe you're Scarfed or something. You still got your stab Dark Pulse to snipe some things as well. Or like a Latios, who could turn into maybe like an electric type, because you've got Thunderbolt already, so you've got good stab. You could maybe do fire, because you have Mystical Fire too. So you're just electric type, a grass type comes in, you smack him with a Draco Meteor, or a Dragon type switches in, doesn't want to deal with your electric type, because it's just such good offensive coverage. You have no weaknesses basically, and you have so much coverage and so many things to just smack. Maybe you run like Ice Beam actually instead. I mean, this coverage right here is just so terrifying, especially if this thing was like Choice Specs or something, or Life Orb. You can get rid of the Psychic. You just run this set right here, like Life Orb or something. It'd be crazy strong. I've got a Dark type Dusclops idea, because Dusclops is so it's already immune to Fake Out. So the only ways to stop Dusclops from setting up Trick Room or something is to taunt it or try to kill it, and it's only weak to Dark and Ghost. So you turn yourself into a Dark type, you now resist whatever Urshifu is trying to hit you or whatever, and you're also immune to any Prankster taunt. You're not immune to like normal speed taunt, but you're immune to Prankster taunt, which would be really cool. Maybe you turn yourself into a Grass type too, just to be immune to Amoonguss Spore and Sleep Powder. That could be really cool too. I think like that could be, it's super niche, but it could definitely work out. Dark/Grass. Maybe you have a Ghost type Tyranitar. This one's kind of basic. It was even in the trailer. This one I actually don't love. It's just you have the Ghost types, you are immune to fighting, and you already have the Ghost Stab. I mean, you honestly probably just run Terra Blast over Shadow Claw because it's a little bit stronger. But you could do it, but then you'd also lose the special defense boost from Sand and the immunity to Sand, so that would be kind of dumb. So I don't love the idea. You could just turn into a Steel type or something too, and just be harder to take out because you've got like Iron Head. So Ghost/Steel, just something more difficult to get rid of. I think on T-Tar would be super, super good. You might just honestly stay as a Rock type too. Obviously, I think we've all thought about Porygon-Z. Adaptability, and then you turn to whatever, a Ghost type or whatever, any type, and you have adaptability twice, and it's just stacks. I think it stacks. I'm not sure. I don't know if we have any information on whether it does or not. But essentially, you'd have just ×4 on your Shadow Ball, and you still have your Tri-Attack Stab, or maybe this is Terra Blast, which is Stab when you're normal, and then it turns into whatever type you are. And then you have Stab on that, and you still have all your other coverage, like Ice Beam, Thunderbolt. You can even turn into these types if you wanted to. Just be crazy coverage, hitting super hard, probably like Choice Scarf this thing, and just blow things up. I thought a Steel type Hitmontop would be really cool to deal with. It would be kind of hard to deal with too, because Intimidate, Fake Out. You have Bullet Punch too, so your Bullet Punch would hit harder. And you've got cool moves like you've got Wide Guard, you have Quick Guard, Feint. You've got a lot of really cool support moves. You even have like Triple Axle. If you want to go offensive, you can. You've got like Technician to help you out, Intimidate. I think a Hitmontop, and even like a Steel type Machamp was another one that have Bullet Punch. And just makes them harder to deal with. You know, a Fairy type comes in, and then you turn the tides on the Fairy type, and the Flying type now can't hit you for super effective. Everything just can't hit you super effectively anymore, and you're much more difficult to take care of. And I think it'd be super cool. I have these two grouped together too. Just imagine, you know, you're trying to Ice Beam the Garchomp or the Landorus, and now they turn into a Water type, and you can't Ice Beam them, and you also can't like Hydro Pump the Landorus or anything. And now your Fairy type move's not super effective, and I mean Garchomp has Aqua Tail, so he'd be a really good Water type. Landorus is more just this Water type would be hard to deal with, and you keep your Stab, so your Stab Earthquake is still hitting really hard, you know. The Stab like Dragon Claw on Garchomp, or you still just like Swords Dance these two. You have U-Turn on Landorus. He just becomes so much harder to deal with because you don't have the quad weakness. Same with Garchomp. I think just Terastalizing to get rid of quad weaknesses, it's kind of like the same thing with T-Tar. Could just be really huge because you just now is so much harder to deal with these Pokemon. I also thought of a funny one. Is Darmanitan, just turn this thing into not an Ice type. This Galarian Darmanitan, I mean you have a free Choice Band on, and then you throw Choice Scarf on, so you just thing is just absolutely monstrous. And you just turn it into not an Ice type, so it's a little bit harder to get rid of. It's still gonna get one shot by something, so maybe you turn it into like a Dark type, because you have Lash Out, and now you're immune to Prankster stuff, so that you can't be Prankster Will-O-Wisp or Prankster Scary Face Thunder Wave, whatever. You just don't have to deal with it, and you're harder to get rid of. Or you can give yourself the Fire Stab and turn yourself into a normal Darmanitan and still have Ice and Fire Stab. Or you can even run Terra Blast here and turn yourself into a, you can have Ice Crash or Thunder, basically Wild Charge. I don't think he has Wild Charge. No, he doesn't. But I like Dark type. I think that's the coolest type. Dark or Fire. Just make it not an Ice type, make it a little bit bulkier type, and just make it harder to deal with. And the last one, it would be like a Steel type Kingdra could be really cool, because Kingdra's only weak to Fairy and Dragon. And you're going to be playing this thing in Rain anyways, so you turn yourself into a Steel type, you already don't have to worry about Fire. You're not going to die to Fire types, you've got Ice, you've got Hydro Pump and like Ice Beam to snipe out any ground types, so you just have to worry about Fire, or fighting at that point, which you can, handle pretty easily. And this thing becomes a horrifying Rain Pokemon, even though it already is one. It's like you still have your stab on Draco Meteor, you still have your stab on Hydro Pump. Now you have stab on Flash Cannon and you're a Steel type. And you already have the perfect stab there anyways. I think it's just super scary. It could be really cool and really interesting. And that's my 10. I think that's the 10. I'll kind of group this up a little bit here, but yeah. Grass type Gyarados, grass type Torkoal, steel type or electric type levitating dragons. A dark or grass type Dusclops to help deal with, things that try to shut Dusclops down, like Prankster Taunt or Amoonguss Spore. Porygon Z in general. Steel type fighting types that have like the support of fighting types turning steel could be really hard to get rid of them. Tyranitar turning into some type that's harder to get rid of. Both of these two with water, I feel like you're gonna see this really early on, depending on who's in the game. I don't know who's in the game, but like, let's say Garchomp's in the game, I feel like you might see a water type Garchomp and you have to figure out how to deal with it. Which will give grass types more value, Darmanitan not being an ice type, and then Kingdra being steel type. Let me know your guys' ideas of some fun Terra types that could really shape up maybe like early meta game. Just don't even worry about the meta. Just like make up a meta game, make up a Pokedex, and send in comments what you think would be some fun Pokemon to try out. Anyways, love y'all. Peace.